Hello everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to In the Chamber, the special edition of the CJ Scott. I am your host, CJ Atemo, and you know that we love to have you here online, hoping that you have subscribed to my YouTube channel, CJ Atemo, hoping that you are following CJ Scott Official on Instagram, CJ Scott on Twitter, and CJ Scott as well on Facebook. I hope that you are part of our online family. If you're joining in for the very first time today, please do that. On the In the Chamber, we always get stories that will inspire you, will motivate you, stories that will, just draw out the light on the inside of you. And we go the length to bring you the greatest stories that you can have. Today, I am so privileged to have a face and a voice that is not new to my generation. Well, to the current digital generation, maybe not much, because I asked my team, check out this gentleman, and they came back and they said there's not much about him on the net. But we were watching this man. We were watching him and listening to him. His voice, his face was household when TV was TV. You know what people say nowadays? That we long for the days when TV was TV. Well, I'm talking about none other than Edmund Mudibo. He graced our screens for years, and we would look forward to hear that, the golden voice. How are you, sir?
I'm good. What flattering introduction. But I say, and by the way, I think it's important that, I was joking with the team here when they said they couldn't find much on me on the net, and I said, do you have bundles? Yeah. But the key thing is, even as you build that digital footprint, be conscious of what you put out. Let it be positive. Right. You'd rather have it less than optimal, but what you have, let it be positive, because internet never forgets.
Yeah, that's what it says. Internet never forgets.
Once you send an email, somebody somewhere has it. It's just how they can pull it out.
But you were on TV for so long. Yeah. There should be something about you.
You're looking in the wrong places. That time, if you go to libraries that have tapes, okay, many tapes we probably have. But be that as it may, I'm all yours. I'm glad to be part of this, and to share my story, and hopefully from my experiences others can learn from it and positively take it to the next level.
Edwin, how long did you do TV?
Oh, right from when I left school. I was privileged to begin right after school. Way back, we all hear of Kasarani, renamed Mo International Sports Center. When the Chinese built it in 1987, for the All Africa Games, it was really top of state of the art then. It still is not too bad.
That still is our most modern stadium.
I started broadcasting way back just after school, waiting for results. And my journey started by escorting a fellow alumni of Lenana School. That's where I went to school. He had done what you call a voice test at Kenya Institute of Education, KIE. Now it's KICD. And KIE used to produce, and they still do, produce schools broadcast content. It's interesting, that subject still comes. Content for schools. Way back then, I'm not too sure how it is now, all schools' timetables were synchronized. To the extent that if you had maths from 11 to 12, if you came to Kenya, you went to any school, it was maths 11 to 12. Whether you're going to a school in Mombasa, in Busia, and the whole logic there was that there was content that was produced by KICD, and schools would tune in for that lesson, and they all get it at the same time.
I remember we used to look forward to the radio lessons. Just so that we get off the teachers.
You get off the teachers, And there was a speaker in the classrooms where the teacher would, put up the volume and you all listen and compliment. But why there as a milestone? Because people from KBC used to go there to voice and get some extra cash. One of them who I distinctly remember, because these were larger than life people, was Njoroge Maura. I knew of him before he knew me. And here I am in the studio, like now here, and I'm saying, wow, that's Njoroge Maura, that's Njoroge Maura.
Yeah.
So he did his program and left.
Like I'm sitting here and I'm saying, here is Edmund Mudibo.
Well, and so I go in, I do my bit.
Right.
And he doesn't go away on the other side of where the technicians are. And I wondered, okay, have I made a mistake? And he says, young man, who are you? I said, Edmund. And he said, have you tried broadcasting? I said, I listened to it, I tune in, but I've never. So he wrote a note.
Right.
I said, go to KBC, see the late, now, rest his soul in peace, Dan Olwatch.
Yeah.
And he'll give you a voice test and a screen test.
Right.
So I go to KBC, I go to the gate, through the gate, tell those guys, the Scaries, I'm coming in to see Dan Olwatch. I go to newsroom and I say, I'm looking for Dan Olwatch. He says, yes. And I say, here. I was told to give you this by Njoroge Maura. Right. You can imagine, a young fellow.
Right.
So he looks at it, and I think Njoroge had written, please give this guy a screen test.
Okay.
And so I did a screen test. They recorded just as you would to get in terms of, are you camera friendly? Do you have the intonation, etc., and so on and so forth. But however, they did it. They judged and said, 2 weeks later, you've passed.
Wow.
Oh, so what does this mean? I was told now.
And it wasn't easy to pass those days,
It wasn't
right?
easy. It wasn't easy. I think it was, well, I think God willed it that it was going to be.
Right.
When I joined then, you don't just do it today because you've got good looks, you've got a good voice, and you can speak well. You don't just jump straight into a camera.
Right.
You have to go through a period of induction.
Okay.
And I was placed under the tutelage of Catherine Kasavuli.
All right.
And I said, wow, these are people who I'd heard of, and here they are meeting them. And we did everything except going on air.
Okay.
So you dress well, dress a tie and suit. And of course, we're in school, just after school, we would get hours from the camera. Those who get stuff from Gikomba know what camera is. So I'd wear my designer.
Right.
You know, and dress up like you're going to broadcast. But we'd go through the bulletin, the pace, the, you know, the research, and everything. But read.
You know, when you talk about that, it's very interesting, and I know I'm preempting myself, but when you talk about that, and how the current generation is,
yes,
like you guys had to dress up as if you're going on air, but you're not going on air.
You can't until you are judged that you're ready.
So every day you act like you're going on air, but you're not going on air. Mm-hmm. The current generation is a bit fast, you know, because we're really looking for opportunities.
True.
So that if somebody is in a place and they don't get that limelight very quickly, or they're not on the stage very quickly, they will exit. Do you think that that kind of training that you had made you guys solid?
I think it would, and I'm unapologetic about it.
Right.
Because way back then, you had to be right. Of course, it presumes that those who were, you know, rating and judging were all also fair.
Right.
I would like to give them that, you know, benefit,
right,
being professional about it. Number two is that they're also very keen on English service was English service. You don't hear sharing in English service. You don't hear English in Kiswahili unless it is, and they qualified, you know. Times have changed, yes, one could say. But those, that was how they were insisting and mentoring, going through, doing postmortem. You self-critique and others would. You make mistakes, you learn. You're encouraged to do your own research, be informed, listen, and you would go through the paces. One could say, but that was those days, time has changed. Principles never change. You can fast track it, but if the principles are solid, you can't go wrong. So in today's world, of which you're privileged to still be part of it, yes, it is fast, it is digital, it is here and now, but still get the fundamentals right.
Right.
And it also calls to patience. It also calls to waiting on time to when you're right.
Well, just talk a little bit about now. Okay, so you were under Catherine Kasavuli for mentorship. How long did that take?
Interesting, because I think I wore suits and for at least 3 months, you know. Literally, when she's on duty, you go. When she's off, you're off, you know. One day,
I need to try that on some guys.
You know. And one day, something happened. She didn't turn up for the bulletin. But I had turned up because that was my time to be, be taken through mentorship.
Right.
And the clock was ticking. Yes, the newsreader is not there. The time is almost coming.
Right.
The student has gone through it. The bulletin must be read.
Yes.
So I was told, Kijana, you're going on air.
Right.
And I mean, sweating, and I'm wondering, and I'm trying to look for all excuses. I'm saying, I'm not trained. I'm told, no. You're going on air.
And people are waiting for Catherine.
People are waiting. So I went on air and I read. I can't quite remember how I did it. But the next day, the chief news editor,
right,
who was Haman Igambi,
yes,
summoned us. So I was being told, hey, you are being looked for. And I knew this is the end of my very brief career in the media. So I go in, he asks, young man, who are you? Why did you go on air? Who allowed you, etc., and so on. So he called the news editor, he called the guys who were on duty, and those who did the roster, and he said, kutoka leo, huyu kijana, weka kwa roster.
Wow.
So that's how I started.
How did that feel?
It was surreal. I didn't know what it meant. It's like I was walking on stars. I've looked forward to it, but then here it is.
Right.
But then I still, with humility, still looked up to the generation of anchors within KBC and even beyond, right, in other stations.
Right.
Even others that had come up as quote-unquote competing stations, whether it was KTN or NTV, or it didn't matter. We're in that same space, and right, there's something to learn from somebody else.
Today, you rarely find an anchor in a place for 2 years. Mm-hmm. But your generation, you could actually, you people became like brand ambassadors.
Synonymous with where you're at.
With the station.
Yeah.
And so you would know Catherine Kasavuli comes here. You would know Njoroge Maura comes here. You'd mm-hmm, know Edmund Mudibo comes here. Mm-hmm. What is the effect of those very quick transitions in terms of the brand of the person and the brand of the media house?
I believe when you're in media, and this is unsolicited advice I'm giving freely here, is that you need to build yourself into a brand, right, that is not dependent on the station or okay, media house that is currently hosting you. What do I mean? What I mean is that you need to work at yourself.
Okay.
And that calls for introspection. It calls for you asking yourself, who am I? Where right, am I at? Where am I going? How do I strengthen? What are my strengths?
Right.
How can I become identifiable? With due respect, and I name no names. Some of us, you remove the station.
The person is gone.
Edmund, who is he?
Right.
But again, there's convergence of interests.
Right.
Media houses must survive. And again, at the end of the day, it's all about ratings, it's all about viewership, it's all about numbers, it's all about advertising. And if you don't fit the bill in terms of driving their agenda, then your sell-by date is fast approaching.
Right.
But again, there's also the temptation of when we were starting out, we did it a lot for the passion. There wasn't right, any money. Well, there was some money, but you can't speak about it. Right. But it was good. I mean, no disrespect.
Comfortable.
Yeah. But then now you find I'm earning X. I'm being poached and approached by XYZ stations, and offers are being made. And I look to the left, I see X times 2. I look to the right, I'm seeing X times 10. And I get tempted. And then I start living this celeb
right,
lifestyle.
Right.
The public expects, or so I believe, right, a certain level of livelihood.
Right. I
change addresses.
Yeah.
My children don't go to primary schools, they go to academies,
right,
I move residences. So you have a certain pressure on yourself.
Right.
And society also can put you under pressure. And then you'd be looking for where you can be accommodated. Financial-wise, important, but it's not everything.
You're right.
So I'm not surprised that you'd find those who would move up and down. It's musical chairs,
But what are some of those things that somebody should consider? Because again, we've seen people who are doing very well in particular stations, Then they move somewhere else that is probably more lucrative than the initial one. But you don't feel this person. Like you don't feel like they have the screen presence that they had.
Yeah.
You can't feel them. It's just like this person is going through the paces. And then after a while, they're going to lose that job, because that has happened a lot in the last few years.
Yes.
Somebody will have moved from the station to the other one, and then shortly they just go down. What are some of those things that somebody should look at when they need to make the transitions?
Number one, I'm very, the significant person in that environment is yourself. First of all, as you fit into the universe, as you fit into the environment. Yourself, build yourself, invest in yourself.
Right.
Investing in yourself then means you raise the bar to be higher than for anybody else, for yourself.
Okay.
To the extent that you're also planning for the day you will not be at that station.
All right.
So it's not to suggest that you don't give it your 100%. Give it on 50%. But should the ground shake, things change.
Right.
COVID is here on us.
Right, right.
There's convergence of media
Right.
in terms of print, digital, radio, everything, single source newsrooms converging, etc. There's a whole new change. You must also be alive to what is changing around, and are you prepared for it and invest accordingly? If it means that you scale up, invest in learning the basics of digital, the basics of editing, the basics of, as an employer, a media house would look for that individual who is a camera person, who can do sound,
Right.
who has a sense of lighting, who can also maybe script,
Right.
who can also voice.
Right.
You may not be a jack of all trades, expert in all, but if you got those skill sets invested in you by yourself,
Right.
then you're that much more productive and attractive to potential employers. And you can be an employer for yourself. Doesn't mean you must
right.
remain in employment. And that's a space to look out for, because it's about content.
Talking about content, generally, and we talked about this before we went on set, in your day, it was more about education. That has really changed right now.
Yes.
There's a lot of information and entertainment. They call it infotainment.
Infotainment now.
Yeah, and anybody who has any kind of story, it
Yes.
might be gossip, it might be anything crazy, they'll go out. And it seems like that is what sells in our day.
Yes, and when you look at it, when you look around, you'd ask, what is it that you have? What do I see around? And it need not be complicated in terms of the concept that you want to pass on. But be careful not to just be a copycat, me too.
Right.
I look at my neighbor, I see he's driving the latest Mac, and I see he's got a small shamba there growing tomatoes. So I say, the tomatoes is what, so I grow tomatoes. And I wonder what's happening. On the side, doesn't exactly work. Maybe he's been gifted. He had a rich uncle who bequeathed him that,
Right.
What I'm saying is that even as you rush to create content,
Yes.
look around the landscape and see, where is the gap?
Right.
What and how can I deliver this? Others, all you are likely to do is populate the digital sphere with a lot of junk.
You know, as you think about that, most of what we do online is based on what is done in the West. Are we ready for that cultural shift, where we bring in the videos into our bedrooms and into our bathrooms? Are we ready?
We must be responsible. We must be able to draw the lines, and let's not just search likes on Twitter, because you can be an extreme,
Right.
and you can have followers who are not real.
Okay.
In terms of when you need them to count, they matter list.
Right.
So you also have to think through, and you must be responsible.
Right.
And let's value ourselves in appreciating our culture in terms of who we are, so that even as we do so and grow that space, let's not just ape and pick anything from Western just because
it sells and it builds the numbers.
But again, let's not reinvent the wheel.
All right.
If you look and you see this car from the US is turning and the wheels around, don't make yours triangular. You will not move. Make yours move better.
All right. Talk about your life after media.
Yeah.
You know, well, I was surprised myself that for some reason you have kept your footprints very silent after the media period.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about your life after media, what you're doing now.
Okay. I've been in media. I've never really left.
Okay.
I ran a small strategic brand communication and PR agency called Forward Vision, which I've been doing for the last 19 years.
Wow.
Small outfit. But in that space, it has enabled me to also still pursue my passion in communication, in
Right.
advocacy,
Okay.
in helping brands define themselves and communicate with various stakeholders, whether it is internal or external, and just managing the dynamics
Right.
for individuals, for corporates, etc. So that's what I've been doing, and we run campaigns. We run.
I was about to ask you because I know that mostly when it gets to the individuals,
Yes.
then politicians are the ones who.
In fact, if there is something that I have intentionally, and this is me,
Right.
kept off with due respect, is doing political stuff.
Okay.
For a simple reason, the clients that we're dealing with cut across in terms of that basket, and I did not want to be placed in a position where I will get this LPO from this client because I'm aligned to their inclination.
All right.
And it's their democratic right to align to whomsoever they wish.
All right.
I then said, we will engage and service our clients professionally. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with dealing with politicians or political parties and so on. There's always a windfall every 3, 4, 5 years.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Only that personally, maybe that's not my space. However, individuals are also appreciating the need to define themselves as brands.
Okay.
There are individuals that can tell you who are out there. They may be in government, they may be in private practice,
Right.
who also have communication consultants,
Right.
who review, who advise, who give them counsel on how to engage, how to communicate, how to deal with various scenario situations in their places. They're there. They're just not loud, visible, but they exist. I have a couple that I'm dealing with, so I know that is space that works. Otherwise, I'm also involved at my church. I worship at the Nairobi Baptist Church, where I attended right from kindergarten.
Wow.
But I'm involved in the media ministry there.
Right.
In just sharing the little that I know or what I have, to do mentorship.
Right.
Mentorship in those who want to get into media, those who want to do production, those who want to get into newscasting, those who want to do documentaries, those who want to be able to just, build confidence, public speaking.
All right.
So I'm involved in that. 2 very exciting initiatives of late. One where we said, let's do ministry differently, which goes again into content creation in that digital space.
Right.
Where we say, let's do ministry in the kitchen with men cooking.
All right. All right.
So cook to serve.
I don't know how we didn't think about that.
and you come in, you just find these 2 gentlemen chatting, and we are cooking with what you find in the average kitchen.
All right.
I made matoke with peanut butter or roasted chicken or sukuma wiki. I'm told you can cook it in at least 5 different ways. Okay? At least, not at most,
Yeah.
But through that, we're able to then pass on the ministry of discipleship, just engaging.
All right.
So, and this speaks to how one can look for innovative ways
Yes.
in which to deliver
Right.
your message in terms of content. And all those in media, yes, there is Corona, there are those, again, there's another round of musical chairs towards the end of the year. Even if Corona was not there, there's always right sizing, there's always letting go, there's always shedding off, It was almost like a calendar event that is cyclic.
Yes.
But how do you prepare? I see lots of opportunities for my colleagues in the media.
Okay.
you ask yourself, who am I? What have I learned? What can I do? Am I good in languages, linguistics? You can still do content production at the county level, in schools, in your neighborhoods, in your church, with corporates. There's plenty. Just pause, look, and apply yourself. And reach out to those who have been part of it and ask.
Yeah. You know, generally for most people, then there's always this thing of how do I monetize it? Especially a lot of the younger people, anything that you talk about in terms of content or something, eventually their bottom line is, how do I monetize it? How does somebody monetize clean content?
A couple of ideas I can share there. Number one, to the extent that you seek to be original, there's also, with due respect, a lot of plagiarism going on. Someone will pick something, nice outfit, change the color, dye differently, brand it Mudibo. I say, my original creation, and push it. You're cheating yourself. You don't go far, and you run, legal risk in terms of copyright, plagiarism. So be careful. But in terms of monetizing, ask yourself, for example, the channel that you're going to utilize. And as you do so, have a target. Don't just move and see where it will go. Have a sense of, where do I want to take this? Because that then will guide you in what you need to invest. Do you need to invest in defining the vehicle that will deliver it? Some of us, and there's nothing wrong, we get so attached and say, if I create articulate media, I'm not seeing Pastor Chris in it, people will forget me. You must also surrender to the brand that then now will drive it, and have a long-term view that what you're investing and building on must outlive you, so that you don't have to be physically present. In monetizing then, when you have a long-term view, for example, you're doing content and you want to hit certain, it's about numbers at the end of the day. Numbers don't lie, but real numbers. But again, in digital, there are bots, I hear, that can keep retweeting and pushing and, driving up false numbers. It's not the real thing. So be careful, But at the end of the day, if you drive authentic numbers in terms of the audience that you're seeking, whether you're doing podcasts, whether you're running your YouTube channel, etc., and so on, you will be recognized. I'm told there's a musician from Tanzania, it's called Platinums. That guy, he coughs, within 3 hours, he's got 2 million views, and Google is looking for him to pay him. Because if you mean something, you will be noticed by somebody. And monetizing, again, it depends on how you want to, what is enough. We really don't have enough when it comes to monetization, but monetizing because you have needs. Let me also be real. But you can monetize in looking at space where you can sell that product to somebody, individual, corporate entity that can be interested. So you must have content that you believe in that is not just a me too copycat, because what's the difference? Why should I tune in to
what I'm doing and not
what you're doing and not somebody else if they all look the same? Okay, so number one, seek to be original. Package it professionally. Understand who you think or who you believe, who you want to define as your target audience is, because then you'll be producing content for them. If you attempt to be everything for everybody, everywhere, every time, if there's one thing I'll tell you, you'll succeed in doing is failing. You will succeed in failing because you'll just be one of nobody. 3, package it and look and see, how can I monetize this? How can I sell this? If you Google how many websites there are zillions, and it's increasing every second. But you may be looking too far, yet where you need to begin monetizing is really within your space. Look at the corporates that you have. Do you have content that you can monetize that and say, brand X, company X, multinational Y, or company this? You have digital presence. Can I look at what you have? How can I begin monetizing to attract viewership and draw audience to that, let's define this relationship.
Okay.
So content, like I've said.
All right.
2, be clear on who your audience is.
Okay.
3, produce it professionally. And I'm speaking generally, but those
Right,
are basic
right.
principles.
Right, right.
4, also be wise to the extent that don't try to monetize to the exclusion that KRA wasijue chini ya maji. It'll catch up with you. What I mean is also do the right things regulatory wise.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, you can be very successful down the road, and then my brothers at KRA will land you with a bill and tell you for the last 7 years, this product of yours, judging by your last billing, when you're now hitting 1 million views, because they'll base it on the last, most current,
All right.
and they'll tell you, we extrapolate it in reverse, so you should pay us 20 million the next 1 week. And then you begin on, but I only started hitting 1 million views last week.
Yeah.
So seek to do the right thing in terms of the vehicle that will deliver this.
Okay.
And define yourself. Are you the individual the same as the brand?
Okay.
I would like to suggest be clear when you stop being yourself and start being the brand.
Right.
And I challenge you to go beyond your lifespan. What you sell by date.
All right.
And success will be judged whether that content that you produced is outliving you, even if it means outliving you when the Lord calls you home.
All right. I'm going to stretch the time a little bit, Father, because I need to talk about a bit about the family man that Edmund is. But just one more on that aspect of media. When you see what we have now, talking about mainstream, what are the gaps that you see? Because we were hooked up to TV, man. We were hooked up those days. There has been a transition to the digital space. And I don't think it is just because we can get content online. I think also there's something that is not happening with the mainstream media. What are the gaps that you see now looking at it from the outside?
Interesting question. I think for a long time, mainstream media that invested in brick and mortar and physical things are realizing that maybe that was not necessarily the way to go, but they have it.
Okay.
Some may have invested for sure, with due respect. And now you've got a lot of baggage.
Okay.
But they must rationalize. And you're rationalizing, you're looking, there's a temptation of looking at how do we remove the fat and be lean and mean to deliver, because they're also under pressure to deliver in terms of their owners, their shareholders. They have that obligation. Convergence, I'm not too sure, and I think they are, but I think they can do more in terms of investing in the people, in terms of the human resource that they have. Investing in terms of equipping them with research. Investing in terms of training them to be more productive where they are. Let them not fear that if we train Edmund,
he will leave.
He will leave. There are creative ways in which you can bind this fellow. We spent 2 million on you with these skills, and you will pay it back for the next 2 years when you work with us. And they should not be afraid to let go. The beautiful ones are not yet born. So don't invest in Edmund and you think that if he goes, we'll be sunk. You need Edmund to go to create space for somebody else. Nature abhors vacuums. Okay? So I think they just need to relook at the resource that they have. And even when it comes to right sizing, don't just scheme off for the sake of balancing numbers for the bottom line. I'm speaking this because maybe I don't own a media house. I'm speaking differently. But I am very convinced that need to look at the human, because content, human resource, that development, that is where it is. And not to be shy of building or giving a platform to individuals to become a brand that is recognizable where they are. I think that is also a challenge that they're looking at and saying, he's synonymous with this show. If he moves, he's gone. Because in content creation, I would love to create content that I can syndicate across different media houses.
Okay.
And that's the way to go.
All right.
And redefine relationships.
Right.
And even those who you're letting go, if you must let them go, encourage them that they can produce content and supply to you.
Right.
And you pay them and have revenue share relationships.
Right.
And everybody can win.
All right. As we conclude, you're a family man.
Yes.
Something that you mentioned that is very interesting to me is that at some point, your wife had to come back home because you needed, or rather both of you thought you needed to take care of your sons. There are people who normally think that that's a sign of weakness. That why would somebody come and stay at home? You know, as a woman, you need to assert yourself out over there. If he can go, I will go. If he's earning the money, I will earn the money. Talk about that experience.
Yes. Like I said, I'm a father of 2 boys.
Right.
One is 16, the other is going to turn 10 in a couple of months. Just 2, small family.
Right.
My wife used to work as a librarian at the Electoral Commission of Kenya.
Right.
But be that as it may, there was a time they all had to reorganize and reset. And she had the option of either being redeployed to government or take the golden handshake. She opted for the latter. And we were informed by, there was a period in our lives when we're both working hard, mostly out of the home.
Right.
Off to read news at, for you to read at 7, you report at least 2 hours before.
Right.
So to report at 5, and to report at 5 means you wake up at 4 or 4:15. To wake up at 4:15 means, so do your lead time backwards. Yeah. So or you have a 9 o'clock bulletin.
Right.
By the time you get dropped off home, by the time you get home, it is 10:30, 11.
Right.
They have gone to bed.
Right.
You're leaving the house, they're still asleep. You only see them on the weekend.
And they only see you on TV.
And they only see you on TV. They're being told, oh, that's your dad. But the guy is saying, who's that? That's my dad. I think so. Because he sees you once in a while. But we made that conscious decision that come home and be the housewife, support from home.
Right.
That motherly care and love was opportunity to just, scale it up.
All right.
And I think we appreciated each other even that much more. And also, because I've been in self-employment for a long time now. And I think she also appreciated that when this guy goes out, he actually works for what he brings in. We appreciated each other that much more.
Okay.
So there's everything to celebrate those who also make that decision. And it has its pros and cons. Not cons so much, but opportunity cost.
Right.
That we would possibly earn less monetary-wise, but you gain so much more in building the home.
Right.
And I have no regrets. We're happy. And as the children also grow, you find that you also get more time in terms of what else can you do.
And
so
you can
get
always
released,
go back out
and
there.
you can always go back out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can't be done with this particular interview. There was so much about Edmund that we needed to talk about. Probably we have to have part 2 in the chamber just to begin to dig up that story. But I want to encourage all of you out there who are either interested in media, you're content creators, you are celebs, if you're looking for mentorship, because a lot of us make mistakes, and we have made mistakes off the camera. Edmund said, I've made mistakes and I'll still make some mistakes. But if you're looking for mentorship, I think you need to find Edmund Mudibo so that he can help you. There's nothing new under the sun. There are people who have gone ahead of you. There are people who have been in the limelight. There are people who have seen a few things. And you need to always look out for those who have survived seasons. Because then they've handled transitions, they've handled different things, they've seen all kinds of people coming in, they learned the lessons. So do you have social media platforms?
Yes.
So the next time,
if you still want to write, the PO Box 56196 City Square, but I've moved on. You can get me on Facebook if you search Edmund Mudibo. I'm also on Twitter at ED Mudibo, at ED Mudibo. If you search, you will find. And you can also reach me through this channel.
Right.
Shout out to I'm available.
All right.
The only thing I'd like to suggest is that just as you were taught and mentored, please don't hog, don't hoard, share out, release to receive.
All right. All right. And thank you so much for coming and being here. The mentorship was for me, first of all. That's why I asked a lot of questions concerning media, because we were all just gleaning, and we are happy that you came.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, that's all the time we had on In the Chamber with myself, CJ Atemo. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this video. Just share it out with your friends, your colleagues. Share the stream, like it. And until next time, keep it right.